Hello, wherever you are joining us from today, we want to say a huge welcome to our global community. We hope you're enjoying the Customer Marketing Summit. I also want to send out an extra special thank you to all our sponsors, partners, speakers, and participants who together have made this event possible. Their sessions are bursting with insights to help you level up. But remember, the learning doesn't stop here. If you haven't already, you can upgrade your pass to include access to all today's sessions on demand. Or you can become a PMA member and benefit from unlimited access to exclusive templates, frameworks, and our entire library of talks from our live events. And remember, have your questions at the ready. Simply post your question in the comments section and get awesome advice from an expert in the field. What's not to love about that? So now, on to the next talk.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jeff Hardison, and I am Head of Product Marketing for Calendly. Super excited to be here today. I'm going to be talking about why a customer reference program is today's most important B2B marketing initiative. I've built customer reference programs as well as participated with them, companies such as Amazon.com, HP, Envision, and Clearbit. And I'm a big believer in them and hope I can share my excitement with you. So, one of the things that's kind of driving, I think, the reemergence of customer reference programs is basically you've got two camps of marketing that's going on. You've got the folks who are trying to earn attention. They are maybe, doing influencer relations. They're rolling up their sleeves doing content marketing. They are doing events and so forth online, and they're trying to earn the attention and customers. And then you've got the second camp, which are trying to buy the attention of customers. They're doing performance marketing with ads. Maybe they're renting a list and helping send email cadences with SDRs and so forth. And one thing that's interesting to think about is that there's this huge group of marketers who've come up during various boom economies, such as the dot-com boom in the 90s, or the real estate boom, or whatever this is right now. I guess this is the social and SaaS boom. And they, have always been buying attention. They've gotten real comfortable buying attention, right? Instead of having to earn it. And one of the reasons is, and I came up during one of these boom economies, we had huge budgets, right? And so instead of necessarily rolling up your sleeves and doing all this hard content marketing work or hard influencer relations work that doesn't scale, you could be able to, just put out a lot of ads. I did a search on Google for, .com ads, and this is what I saw. And you can see, you can get pretty lazy with your ad buying and your ad creative during a boom economy. Now, what's interesting that happens is that in a down economy, or an uncertain one like we're dealing with now, many of us buying marketers, we start to face this scary reality, okay? And there comes this time, maybe it's not like today or next week, where bosses come to us, or maybe it's the C-level leadership, and they start examining all this buying that we're doing, all this buying of attention and customers, and they want to see the return on ad spend. They want to see the ROI. And so for the first time, there's this personal crisis for us, right? And we start to really worry. We're like, what am I going to do? This is what I do. I make ads. I buy ad space. I run these ads. I don't know how to roll up my sleeves and do content marketing or pitch some type of influencer online. And these bosses are going to ask, or they're already doing it, they're going to ask us to do more with less, right? And we start to really worry about this. So what ends up happening is that we as marketers doing these down economies or uncertain times, or just a culture of questioning, marketing spend, we have to pivot to doing more earning of that attention and leads. You'll start to notice these people who've doing lots of demand gen performance marketing. Next thing you know, they're starting to do a little bit of content marketing, or they start to lobby certain departments to help with things that are more kind of earned attention related. And so I think part of the issue is figuring out how to do this earning of attention in a way that makes sense, right? That's going to be very powerful for anybody that's trying to do this. So what I want you to do is just humor me for a second and close your eyes. And I want you to think about a couple consumer purchases you made in the last couple of years. And I'm going to open my eyes to kind of look around to see what they were for me. You might have to do the same. And think about those consumer purchases and how you heard about some of your favorite consumer purchases. Okay. For me, there was this Bose speaker. Left to my own devices, I would have bought like a really bad Bluetooth speaker. I asked a friend, my friend Adam, an engineer, recommended the Bose speaker. Love it. Was remodeling my kitchen, didn't know what to do, would have made horrible choices on my own. Asked my friend Kathy, also an engineer, and said, what do you recommend? Went over to house. I saw her beautiful backsplash, kind of stole the idea, maybe stole a couple other ideas while I was there, right? And I was happier with this because if I'm doing the purchasing, a lot of times I buy stuff that's not that great. Like this iron right here. This iron kind of sucks. I didn't find it from an Instagram ad, but I think I was at Macy's and saw it on an end cap as a promotion. Bought it. Probably should have asked friends, what kind of iron do you recommend? Now, I was wondering, and so I did a little Google search and I said, do B2B buyers do very something similar? Do they ask their friends and trust peers and so forth and people they respect? And if you Google just, buying trends from B2B buyers, you will find in the top of, trends, you'll notice that it's listening to peers, listening to colleagues, listening to people they trust over and over and over again. Yet as marketers, a lot of times we don't devote a lot of time and resources to garnering this third-party validation from customers and people that are trusted. That's unfortunate because the best marketing, in my opinion, and I think a lot of us, if we really look into our hearts and think about our buying decisions, is infused with the voice of the customer. Some of the best blog posts, some of the best web copy, the best ads, you name it. For example, some companies that I've been involved in and how they've done it, when I was at Meridian, a small startup that was acquired later by HP, we didn't have big marketing budget. We only had like $1 million in funding. And so what we did was we literally made customers happy, flew to their locations, helped them build their mobile app. And then we said, hey, in return for this work, do you mind if we, pitch this to the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and so forth? And that's how we got a lot of our marketing, right? Later, when acquired by HP, Meg Whitman, amazing leader, got on stage. What did she do? She showed a customer on stage with her from Home Depot where they talked about how they use HP's services, okay? Clearbit does an amazing job of creating beautiful case studies with their customers. They also use a lot of these testimonials within Facebook ads. I think some of those Facebook ads are more attractive than ones without. A lot of times what I like to do is go on Twitter and see which customers are talking. I went and looked at, for example, Envision when I was working there and noticed Atlassian was talking. What I do? Reached out to Atlassian, interviewed them for a case study. Calendly does a great job of getting customers to talk. So part of doing this kind of customer marketing work isn't just kind of imagining what you can do with it, but you got to build a case with leadership. So for example, one of the things that we recommend doing is showing some type of stats, such as I showed earlier about buying behaviors to help build a case for customer marketing. Two, if you can show some kind of like research, for example, Google, 10 trends and kind of pandemic era marketing, customer marketing comes up, right? You can see this right here in Harvard Business Review. And it's not just customer marketing for customer references, but having the customer marketer be at the heart of all kinds of customer interactions for product and sales and other groups, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Second, what this allows you to do is you're not just engaging the customer, for say a case study or for your website and so forth. You're doing this to also study the user. These case studies aren't just good for closing deals and attracting prospects. They also help inform product development. For example, if you go onto YouTube, you'll find a number of different, interviews with customers for Calendly that also serve as great testimonials. There's great product feedback here, and there's also great testimonial work. Third, helping you build case for customer marketing, it helps the sales team. Every CEO knows that if you have a sales team, they're coming to you asking for more and more customer references to help close deals. Customer marketing, of course, does a great job with equipping sales with that. And really, sales is happy a lot of times to get anything they can, okay? My colleague here, Derek Kim, Calendly, he did a wonderful job of taking existing case studies and repackaging them into a slide format for sales. And sales loved it. This is a pinned Slack message from him for the sales channel. Later, somebody from CS reached out to him and says, like, how can I get my hands on these case studies? They already existed. He just did some little bit of work and repackaged them via slide format, and they loved it. All right, so now that I've kind of built a case, I hope, for you, on why you should do customer reference programs, or maybe if you're a pro at it, helped you have some more slides that you can use to build a further case, to get more resources and so forth. I'm going to give you 5 easy tips that I love to recommend so that this doesn't have to be this big deal, but you can be able to implement pretty quickly. Okay, number 1, formally present the customer reference program, just like I did with you, right? Use some of these stats, try to build a case, show some research, show other examples of other companies do it. So there's a little bit of that fear of missing out there, and give it a name, right? If this is just something that you do on top of your product marketing job and it hasn't been formalized as a program, you're probably not going to get many resources or people behind it. So for example, call it a customer advisory board, call it a customer reference program, call it Customers for Us, anything. Just really give it a name and formalize it with the company. Second, if you just kind of reach out to CS and say, hey, do you all have any customers that can be able to service references? That's going to take a long time. And, they might be a little bit protective of their customers. See if you instead can get approval to run kind of a voice of the customer survey, where you maybe tap in to NPS scores, as well as ask, if they're happy, whether they would be a reference. And super secret tip, this is one of my favorite things I've implemented through the years: give the customer options. Don't just say, will you be a customer reference, but lay out different options to be a customer reference. For example, let's say you have this email go out and say, like, hey, we'd love to really promote you. You're one of our favorite customers. Want to kind of check in on how happy you are. If they're 8, 9s, and 10s on the NPS score, it's probably going to be a good customer reference. If they're not, maybe you should talk to CS. And then, help out your other teams in this email, because we don't want to send lots of emails and bother people. That's what gets these kind of programs shut down. Ask, hey, would you like to talk to product about new initiatives? 2, would you like to beta test new products for product? Help out your product team. Then help out yourself. Have us promote you, video case study, written case study, public speaking opportunity, talk to the press. When you give options, a lot of times you'll notice that they won't say no right away, because if you just give one option, they think of the worst type of customer reference activity sometimes. And so give them options so they can opt into multiple things or opt out of stuff. Then ask if they want to be a sales reference. Another tip, ask if they want to be a VC reference, if it's appropriate. What we'll notice a lot of times, and particularly smaller startups, we'll use a customer too much for VC references, and then we'll try to use them for sales references. And then when we go to them for a case study, they're already tired, right? And so you want to really make sure you're getting them to opt into all these different options. Number 3, make sure you keep track of your customers' participation and reward them. Okay, there's a lot of different systems out there you can use, like Reference Edge. Once you get a little more sophisticated, you want to keep track of customers' participation in Salesforce. But you can just start with a simple Google Sheet where you keep track of the customer, what they're willing to do. Is it video? Is it case study? What they've done for you? Who the owner is, and so forth. It doesn't have to be a big deal. One of the reasons you want to do this is not just reward them later, as we all know how to do with gift boxes and so forth, but also you want to make sure that the right hand is talking to the left in your organization and that the trains aren't crossing. For example, sometimes you might see that there is a product manager that is reaching out to a customer, and if you're not keeping track of it, another product manager doesn't know that maybe they shouldn't reach out 2 days later for another type of customer discovery, customer research initiative. You might not realize that, your leadership team has used this customer for 10 different VC calls, and now you're reaching out for a case study. You got to keep track of all these different activities so everybody knows that we're respecting the customer's time. I think sometimes we forget these customers don't work for us, we work for them. And then, of course, this really gives you this opportunity to make sure you're rewarding them and keep track and keep yourself accountable that you're doing it, okay? Number 4, another favorite tip. You want to hack these customer calls. Any kind of customer call you have, whether you're a product marketer doing customer discovery work, or you're a customer reference manager doing work around trying to get this customer testimonial, Hack that call to really get the most value you can out of it. Let me show you what I mean. Let's say that you are doing a customer discovery call as a product marketer. You're wanting to find out about, how they've examined your product and why they decided to buy, and what feedback they have and so forth. In that call, say, hey, well, I gotcha. Can I ask you, what do you really love about our product? And then what could we work on? And so during that customer research call for product management, you're asking a testimonial question, and then take that little video snippet and share it in Slack, share it in Notion, and says like, hey, everyone, check out why this customer loves us. And then also show the video snippet. It says what we could work on. I promise you, doing this kind of little work, the slicing and dicing work, and killing two birds with one stone in these different types of customer calls, both for customer testimonials as well as research, will make everyone much happier. Number 5, what you want to do is treat each one of these customers as a hub and a hub and spoke system of storytelling, right? Where you're going to shower the world with this customer's love. One of the mistakes I see a lot of times is that people will reach out to different customers, a different customer for a case study, a different customer for speaking up. You want to capture that customer story as your hub and then see how much you can squeeze that lemon. Case study, video interview, press mention, customer research work. And this story will become really famous within your company because everybody's going to be hearing about it. And then 2, it's going to be very well known in the market. And that way you're not doing a ton of work of trying to get thousands of customer references. You're really making the most out of the customer references that you have. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you listening. I hope that you got something from it. If you want to stay in touch, you can find me on LinkedIn. That's where I talk about work the most. If you just want to see some jokes here and there, follow me on Twitter at JS Hardison.